Thank you for everybody for joining Melodic Magazine and Girls Behind the Rock Show for our second networking event, How to Get Started in the Industry. This time, talking about everybody's favorite festival edition. Joining us today, we have Taylor Regulski, freelance photographer, small business owner, and then Valina Hoang, an experiential producer and live events freelancer. Both amazing industry professionals who have not only shown they have what it takes, but also have worked some amazing festivals such as Lollapalooza, When We Were Young, Coachella, Bonnaroo, Gov Ball, just to name a few. Shamira with Girls Behind the Rock Show team is also here as well. Everybody wave, say hi. She will be placing a networking sheet into our chat right there. I see it. I would love if you guys could fill that out, network amongst yourselves, kind of see who you can connect with. You'll never know who you will meet at this event. And then following our questions with Valina and Taylor, we will open up for a quick Q&A from each of you. We can throw them in the chat. We can unmute ourselves, ask the questions. But in the meantime, feel free to throw any questions in the chat when you see fit, and we'll try to cover them. So we're very honored. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Valina, for joining us on your busy schedule to chat and give us some insight into festival season. To start off, Taylor, we'd love to hear a little bit more of your background, kind of where you started, what path you took to get where you are now, and what a day-to-day looks like for a photographer.
Sure. So hi, I'm Taylor Regulski. I go by Camera Lady if you follow me on any socials. Technically started doing photography when I was in high school, but everyone I know has always said, like, I've had a camera in my hand since I was a kid. For some people, you might not remember, but the Polaroid, you'd pull it out, the long strip. That was my first camera, and I probably ran through rolls of film each day. But I got my first professional camera when I was a junior in high school. I actually started shooting sports photography. I played basketball, loved shooting all sorts of sports. I always, though, was a big music person and just never realized there was other music careers out there besides, like, I always thought you just had to be a singer or, a musician. As I got older, I learned, like, you can do other things in the music industry. And I was also always that kid, like, going to 2 to 3 concerts every weekend, pushing to the front. I thought I was all that, taking photos on my little pink point and shoot or on my phone, sharing them. And I kept doing photography all throughout college. I was a teaching assistant for film and darkroom photography. I also have my master's and my MBA in sports and entertainment management. So I feel very comfortable running my business. But I would say I have been professionally, and I use professionally in quotes, because I consider the time I got paid like my first like professional music gig in about 2017, 2018. But before that, I used to shoot for press. So for trade, like other outlets like Melodic Magazine, going to shows, doing reviews and that sort of thing. But got paid to start doing some stuff with Corona Electric Beach and some local artists. First festival I got paid to shoot was actually Lollapalooza in 2019. And then from there, it's kind of just grown. I shoot for like almost every C3 festival now. I shoot for Insomniac. I shoot for Excision festivals. I shoot for Disco Presents. Do a little bit of everything here and there, but festivals is my main thing. But I also run a media team at the venue, the Vanguard here in Orlando. And I still also do portraits and weddings at Disney. So that's my other fun little fact of where I'm at.
Love that. What would you say a day in the life looks like is like the festival team?
So if I'm doing festivals, things are a little bit different than if I'm just doing, freelance work. I've lived in Orlando now 10 years, 11 years. I'm originally from Chicago, but if I'm here at home, it depends if I'm shooting, trying to run business stuff like today. I was doing interviews to add some folks to our team, just doing some like back of house stuff, booking some flights, just doing my accounting, and then also like organizing things. I've had a couple clients like ask looking for pictures, but if I'm on a festival, like depends, travel day, Thursday or a Wednesday, depending on how long the festival is, go to site, pick up creds. And then on a festival day, start time depending on the festival. Like if it's a doors open at 12, on site typically by 9 or 10. And then I also do something very unique for festivals that other people don't do. I specialize in doing like marketing and sponsor work there. So I actually get hired a lot to do that for the festival. So while I'll have assignments to do artists, I'm typically out doing like all the sponsor and marketing, setting up shoots with like sometimes performers for electronic festivals, or I'm out doing like sponsor photos, like maybe like with Modelo, or have a planned shoot with like an influencer for like Red Bull and stuff like that. So my day to day varies at each festival depending on what I'm hired for and what we have planned, if they have like a quick turnaround or if it's like by the end of the festival.
Either way, you're keeping busy all day.
Pretty much.
Valina, what about you? I know it's a whole different world, the experiential producer. What is it that you do from a day to day, and kind of how'd you get started doing
Yeah,
that?
that's a great question. Hello, everybody. My name is Valina. I'm currently based in Chicago, Illinois, but I'm actually reporting live from the Coachella Valley because was out here for 2 weeks for Coachella and then doing stagecoach as well. I would say I specialize in experiential production and also freelance in music festivals. My side of things, my world is a little different than Taylor. I've done a handful of things for festivals, including artist relations, brand sponsorships in experiential, VIP, and also box office. So a little bit of everything here and there, from like gig work to also contract work. But I actually started in the agency world. I started at the talent agency, William Morris Endeavor in New York City. I was there for about 3.5 years. Thought that was the route I wanted to go towards because I love live music and I love live events. But quickly realized that I actually didn't want to become an agent and that I wanted something more hands-on and on-site. And I was the type of person who grew up going to shows as well and also Vans Warped Tour. So that was when I knew that I wanted to do something relating to festivals. Coincidentally, my first festival was also in Lollapalooza in 2022, when I transitioned out of the agency world and transitioned into experiential and doing music festival freelance. My first gig was on the artist relations team at Lollapalooza, which was very, very fortunate. And after that, I've done artist relations at Governor's Ball in New York, 3 Points when we were young, and also Austin City Limits. And I've also done VIP for some various local festivals in Chicago, such as Summer Smash, the hip hop festival in Chicago, and also ARC Music Festival. And at Coachella and Stagecoach, I'm a box office ticketing supervisor. It's a little bit different. Um, on all like the different departments I've been, privileged enough to be a part of. For artist relations, it's mainly, the show days that I have to be on site. If I am dedicated to a stage, I have to reach out to the tour managers and the teams the day before. And then on site, I'm really just, making sure they get to and from stage for their performance and, making sure they connect with the stage manager or making sure they have all of their hospitality needs. And just being their on-site point of contact. For VIP and box office, my demographics is a little different. I'm appealing to the patrons of the festival, whether that's GA or VIP. And also for VIP, I'll have to do load-in. Set up a day before or something like that, the decor of the VIP space. And on show days, I basically help any of the VIP patrons with any of help they need, or if I'm a concierge, I, offer them sunblock, offer them mints, kind of like offer them any help that they may, ask for. And the same with box office, making sure supervising my staff members, making sure, there's no issues. If there are any issues that they have to escalate to a supervisor, I come in and oftentimes I repeat everything my staff says, but sometimes people just want to hear it twice. But my staff is great here, and it's been a while, 2 weekends at Coachella. And something really cool that I'm really proud of is I've also done experiential production in the brand partnership space at festivals. Last summer, I activated at Governor's Ball and Lollapalooza as an associate producer and activated the American Apparel Tea Lab. So that's like a different realm of the festival world that a lot of people don't know about. Is through brand partnerships. So it was a perfect blend of, experiential and also the music festivals scene that I love. And that looks a little different because I'm on site for like the whole week before, so we can load in our build and making sure everything goes up. And then I'm also there after to make sure everything gets down and also shipped back to the respective warehouses and making sure our assets are all good. But during the show days, I make sure operations are running fine, make sure my lines aren't too long, make sure the patrons are happy, and that my brand ambassadors and my staff members are doing their job and making sure that the fans are happy. And that's a little bit about what I've done in the festival space and the day-to-day work.
Amazing. I feel like it's so different where it's like, Valina, you're doing more of like the experience, making sure everyone's having a good time. And then Taylor, you're over here capturing everyone's good time. So it's everything kind of goes hand in hand. We all know that kind of since COVID, the availability of remote jobs and virtual jobs have kind of skyrocketed. How do you guys personally use social media and online platforms to kind of help garner those opportunities and find new gigs?
I mainly run in the EDM realm outside of festivals and like just connecting with TMs if anyone's looking for somebody, or like just a couple like app groups like Nova is a great one for creatives, whether you're doing photo, video, creative direction, gaffer, lighting, hair and makeup. It's a great way to connect with creatives. I'm also in a couple Discord groups just in case I ever want to, see what's up. But I feel like for photographers, it's a lot of sometimes like who you know and just sometimes putting yourself like out there. Like recently, Patrick Topping, who's the DJ, posted that he wanted a new creative content group of somebody to do social content for him, somebody to do photos, somebody to do video, and he opened a Google form. Like you never know who's going to post that out there, or you take a photo of an artist, even if you're press or working like just generally in a festival, somebody might see it and you can get hired off of that. So there's never a right or wrong time for me, at least, and for photographers or videographers. Just put it out there when you're feeling like it and don't think it's the wrong time.
Echo her sentiments. I think there is never a wrong time for anything. Personally, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn all the time, and I know recently it's become saturated with a lot of people like wanting to become LinkedIn influencers. But if you follow the right people and if you like request to connect the right people, even if you just do it based on a search, search keywords like festival freelancer, festival, music festival, or look up any of the festivals that you would want to work and connect to them and maybe reach out to people to ask like, how did you get started? I think that's a big thing. A lot of people post on LinkedIn on like freelance opportunities on what they want to do. And also this one is big is like a Facebook groups. I don't love the like how the Facebook groups are structured because sometimes it can just get lost. But it is what people in the festival world are doing, and it is what the people in the festival world like when they need somebody like a box office attendant or like somebody to help them load in for decor, they will post on these Facebook groups. And I actually just made a Facebook just to be in these groups. And you don't have to, if you don't use Facebook, you don't have to put everything on, just like enough where they, know who you are and like your work. So I think, that's a big thing. I'm not on Instagram anymore, but, I have friends who are still on Instagram who, if they see a role that they may think I'm interested in relating to festivals or relating to the music industry, they'll send it to me. So I think that's a big thing. It's just to like make sure you follow people that post about these kind of jobs and share these opportunities, because there's a lot of them out there on stuff like LinkedIn and Facebook. And I think you just have to like kind of do the research and tap in those ways.
Adding to that, I'm going to share actually. So when we were doing the research for this event, we had Taylor in mind. We followed Taylor for a while, but we were looking for somebody who did like the behind the scenes and kind of a different position. We went on LinkedIn and we looked for freelance festival workers. And that's actually, we found Valina that way. So you never know who's going to be looking for you. So kind of piggybacking off of like, Facebook groups and LinkedIn, how have you guys seen personally how important it is to have like a strong sense of community and kind of how it can keep you relevant or how you can keep people in your network relevant?
For photography, it's very, very important, I feel. I run the circuit in multiple different festival teams, and each team is very unique, but I would say I am closest, and like my closest friends are the ones that I do like all my C3 festivals with. So like Lala, Bonnaroo, I've worked with those people now every year since 2019. They're literally my family, but the craziest thing is like we all live somewhere else. But like when you work on a team, like you shouldn't be trying to like one up each other or being like, oh, why didn't I get to shoot Billie Eilish? And like Valina got to shoot Billie Eilish. Like I hate her. Like she's not right. Like that's not like how it should be. You should be like supporting each other because some of the people like I am like biggest fans of their work are my friends, but like I still adore their work. Like they say things to me that they adore about my work that I never like would expect for somebody who has like, 100,000 followers and works with Kendrick Lamar or is working with like Blink 182. And I'm like, okay, you like my stupid little photo of this like couple laughing in the grass, but like they don't necessarily have that eye for that. So it's like something that they appreciate. You never know what you're going to find a friend or community appreciates. But as a creative, it's so important to have people you can bounce ideas off of, or don't be afraid to go and ask somebody like, hey, how did you get that shot? Like not necessarily technically, because I found a lot of photographers recently try to ask a technical aspect, and like technicalities of photo and video don't always necessarily work for every photo. Like you have to do what works best for you, but like maybe like more like what was your mindset, or what made you like think about like standing there, or like why did you use that filter, or where like things like that, more about the creative process. And like I really instill that in my media team here in Orlando. And like I want you guys to like bounce ideas off of each other, like especially when you work my whole team works in a venue that's the same venue. The venue doesn't change, the artist changes, maybe the stage changes, but like how do you push yourself? Like work with each other, like find, like you might see somebody use a different angle and be like, oh, how did you get there? Like you want to have your community so you can build off of each other, and like you also share ideas but also share work. Like friends who might be in LA are like, hey, I know this artist, they're looking for somebody for tour, I think you'd be a great fit. Or like connect people, because at the end of the day, we all know each other, we all talk. So just be a nice person, and like that's how you get further in this career.
Yeah, that was super interesting because I didn't even like think about it on that lens, like how you talked about like, oh, how do you get that shot? Like what angles and all that, like and like kind of, sharing your different techniques. Because from my end, I didn't think about it like that. But I also agree that you have to be a nice person. Um, you should be a nice person and just be respectful and cordial of everybody that you work with, from like the people who, clean up the venue to, the very, very higher ups. I'm a firm believer in respect. I definitely have like a small, close-knit community in the industry and also in the festival space. I think just because everybody who goes into the festival space just lives so far apart sometimes hard to like create those like friendships or like those very personal connections that you want to, but it's not for a lack of trying. I think it is definitely like good to talk about what opportunities you guys have coming up, and if you guys know if they need anybody, or let's say if I know somebody who's worked X, Y, and Z festival and I really want to be a part of it that I haven't worked, I feel like I can hit up a few people and be like, hey, is there any way you can plug me into your supervisor, or do you know any other teams hiring? That's how I got connected with, Golden Voice and, being in the box office in Coachella. I had reached out to somebody that I was we were both a part of Asian American Collective. And I reached out to him and said, hey, I've been wanting to work at Coachella and Stagecoach for years now. So how can we make this happen? And when other teams were trying to figure out who to hire, they had an open space and my name was dropped, my resume was dropped. So I think it's important just to like definitely like create a community and like set up those informationals, or just like when you're working with those people, tell them your goals, tell them what you're trying to do, because a handful of people will listen and they'll be like, I'll keep you in mind for that. And then when that role does come up, they'll be like, oh, Valina or like Taylor was talking about how they really wanted to be a part of that festival. Like, let me show you the resume. And I think it's always good to like have people by your side too that you trust and that have been in this game together. Being like an Asian American woman, I'm always like looking to uplift like marginalized communities, the BIPOC community. So there's not a lot of people who look like me in the festival world, to say the least. So it's like if I meet somebody who look like me or from a marginalized community, I want to be like, okay, what do you want? Like, how can I help you? How can we help each other? And I think the biggest thing too is to talk about like the workplace environment, because there's a lot of changes that can be changed about the festival environment, and you can't do that alone. So it's like it's important to be transparent with your community and your friends, and to see like how can we help the festival industry move forward in a more positive way, so like the next generation like doesn't have to deal with the things we might have had to. So those are some ways I keep my community close, and like why I think it's important.
I definitely think building community is something that a lot of people take for granted, because like you said, it's not really about who you know, it's who you can connect with. I worked with Taylor this one time. She was lovely to work with. She got amazing shots. Like, I'm gonna shoot my shot and I'm gonna call her, and you never know, like Taylor might be busy and she's going to send somebody else my way. So networking and putting yourself out there, I do agree. I think those are two of the biggest things that is scary, but definitely work that leap if you're looking to get in the industry, especially festivals. Are there any jobs now, looking back on it, if you could tell yourself kind of when you guys started, are there any jobs that you would tell yourself like, hey, look into this, this would be a better way or an easier way to get your foot in the door for what you wanted to do or what you were doing?
I don't think so for me. Like, I had such like, I feel an unconventional route, just because like I did press like work obviously, but like what really got me my first like in-house festival job was there was a posting for they were looking for a marketing photographer for Lala for 2019, and it was in a women's photography group, and I like posted, and there was a bunch of women photographers I looked up to, and I was like, oh, I'm never going to get emailed. And I got emailed asking. And the reason they said they asked me over all of these other like music photographers is because my portfolio had like music in it, but I had more experience and other photos that showcase like elements of a festival. Like, I had food photography in there. I had portraits. I had like branding, product stuff. And that's what they were hiring for. So it stood out to them more than anything. But I feel because I included that like helped me stand out. So I don't think I would not like change that. Like, I enjoy the route I took. I don't know if there was anything else I could do more than what I did. Maybe live somewhere different, but don't think I would have enjoyed life as much if I like maybe moved to LA. Like, LA is just not my vibe.
There are instances where I do look back and I'm like, wow, I could have done that. One of them being probably like when I joined WME, the agency route. Loved it. Forever indebted to it because I've learned so much there. People call it like the graduate school of the music industry. And I was actually in the festivals department there, which is how I connected to festival promoters. But I think one thing I probably would have done more was like do my research on exactly if music touring was what I wanted to go to, because a lot of people who leave the agency in music touring, they usually either become a promoter or a manager, and that was two things I knew I didn't want to become. So I think I probably would have gone somewhere like a brand partnerships role where I could have like used my skills and like applied it to like brand partnerships with experiential on that way. But like I said, I don't regret it because I was immersed in the festival department and learned a lot from the global head, and also was able to connect to a lot of promoters that way. I think as I went to a really small school in Decatur, Illinois, so 3 hours south of Chicago. And I don't discredit that at all because I am here still. But I think one thing I probably would have done is like take advantage of the venues in Chicago where I was at and probably like try to work those shows if I can, be a runner, be a PA. And I don't know exactly why I didn't do it, but I think like if you wanted to get your foot in the door on a local level, so you have, that music behind the scenes background, I think that's a great way to, do so working at local venues, even, smaller venues, they don't have to be big. They're always looking for, people working the gigs. And, you never know who you might run into, because a lot of those venues are bought, promoted by like a Golden Voice or an AG or a Live Nation or like a really big local promoter there. So I think that's something I would have looked more into, and also like just volunteering at festivals too when I was a teen. That was something I didn't do, and I feel like a lot of people that I've met along the way started out really young, started out doing that, and I feel like I could have done that as well. I just didn't.
Yeah, box office, street team, ticket scanning, merch selling, I feel like are all great ways. Obviously with Taylor, it's a little bit different, but I think even, starting on a smaller publication, shooting shows, reviewing shows, and then getting to build that portfolio. Like I said, putting yourself out there, I think is easier said than done sometimes. Is there a piece of advice that either of you would have given yourself when you first started?
I don't know if it's something I necessarily learned in the music industry, but this is something we learned at Disney. Working there is the worst somebody ever tells you is no. Like, so don't be afraid to ask and put yourself out there. And I tell people that all the time. Like, I have people ask me questions, and I'm like, even in daily life, like, somebody is trying, like, a friend is trying to, like, talk to a boss about something or ask somebody about something, like, so you ask and they tell you no and you move on with your life. So, like you were saying, like, you can't be afraid to, like, put yourself out there. So, like, as a photographer, like, yeah, it's a little bit harder. Like, you can't just like be like, hey, Billie Eilish, I want to go shoot your tour. Like, and you're just like she's like, who are you? Like, or her agents are like, why not start with a local artist? Like, there's so many music artists out there in every city. Like, Austin has so many varieties of artists, Chicago, New York, LA. Like, there's an artist at every scale out there, and that's looking for somebody, and the right people will find them. So, like, for photographers, like, if you need to just build a portfolio, like, for a trade, just ask a up and coming artist, maybe like a DJ, like, hey, you have 200 followers. Can I do some press photos for you? Because I just want to work on my studio lighting, and you can have the photos and I also get to use them, and it's a win-win then. And like, maybe that person likes you and they keep working with you from there on. So it's like, just ask the question. And like, the other thing to kind of go along with that is, if somebody does say no or does not get back to you, don't take it personally. Like, a lot of times I get a lot of messages on Instagram, especially festival seasons in high gear. Hey, I want to shoot for Bonnaroo. Like, can I come be your assistant? Or can you put me on the team? I think I'm ready. Here's my portfolio. And a lot of the times those messages go to my requests and I'm not going to see it. Or a lot of the times, like, I used to be the person that I would absolutely try and answer every single one and be nice because I want to help everyone out. I want to see everyone succeed. But sometimes I found people just don't understand how to take that answer. So, like, if somebody does give you an answer of, unfortunately, I cannot help connect you with this person, but like, I recommend, like, reach out to sponsors, reach out to brands. Like Valina said, she works with brands. Brands bring in photographers all the time too to shoot part of the experience. Like, reach out to like T-Mobile. Like, T-Mobile sometimes brings in their own photographer if they're sponsoring a stage at a festival. Like, reach out to those people to see if they can bring you in to shoot or shoot as press, because it doesn't matter if you want to shoot and get into this realm. There's various ways to get into it. And I'm going to tell you right up front, trying to go directly just to shoot music is not the way. That is not going to get you money. If you just want to do music and think that's your in, you're just chasing the fame and you're not in this to actually make the experience better for all the fans or further your career or make those connections. Like if you want to like start your own festival one day or agency, like I'm flat out going to tell you, photography in the music industry is not money. Like you need to find other ways to get there and get what you want. Like I didn't do this to get money. I did this because I truly love music and I want to showcase the experience of festivals for people who don't get to be there and make them feel really bad that they're not there.
I have a couple. Like I said, like I touched on in my previous answer, I think do your research. I think that's one piece of advice I would give somebody. Do your research. Obviously, like there's so much that goes on in the music industry and also just in the festival circuit. I'm still learning every day the different departments that, you know, band together to put on a festival. There's a lot. There's literally over 50. And so like just I would do your research and kind of like get familiar with like exactly what you think you want to do, like what your skills will be best at. Obviously, like don't be married to it. Like make sure like you're willing to start smaller and go up on that way. But I think it's also like good to like narrow down to a handful of things that you think you'd be really good at or like your skills would complement. And you know, test it out. It might not be a forever thing, but like at least you know, I think try it. I never thought I'd like doing box office because I never thought I would be it, but like I really enjoy helping patrons and solving problems at the ticking booth actually. So I think one thing is like do your research and kind of just like kind of familiarize with everything. And I think a second one that I'm still learning even after like, you know, having like 8+ years of professional experience is like kind of have your elevator pitch on deck or like I guess in like Taylor's sense like a portfolio, an elevator pitch, like because I had to do an elevator pitch recently on like the Insomniac job fair that I went on because I went on the Vans Warped Tour chat and Kevin called on my name, Kevin Lyman, the creative Vans Warped Tour, and I froze. Like I talked about what I am and what I do, but it could have been structured like way more eloquently, and I think I just forgot because people focus it so much like on after college, like have your elevator pitch, but like they don't realize even as like a working professional you are still meeting people who can change your life like every day and you have to kind of sell them in a very short amount of time. And I think that's something I'm working on too, just like being confident in my work and telling them this is what I do and this is what I'm good at. And I think that's a big thing. Just like make sure you craft your elevator pitch and like obviously in like a professional way, but still very personable, which is kind of like the line I'm still like toying. And yeah, I think those were like two pieces of advice I think I would give anybody right now.
Do you guys have any final words of encouragement? You know, I know we kind of we've talked about that a little bit, but like, you know, like a one-liner that's like write it on a piece of paper, put it in their wallet, they always carry with them, like final words of encouragement.
It's funny because Taylor was talking about this earlier and like about how like she gets requests, but I'm the type of I would say if you really want something, like fight for it. And I'm the type of person who has cold direct messages people on LinkedIn in a very respectful way. And I am also the type of person who has followed up. And with my follow-ups, I have gotten gigs through that. I'm not saying bother them or stalk them in any way. Just do it professionally. After the first follow-up, maybe, you know, don't do it. But I think my word of encouragement is don't take no for an answer, you know, rejection or direction, and, you know, kind of evaluate that and see like if it is worth a follow-up, you think they will answer, and don't be afraid to cold email or DM somebody.
A little bit different for like photographers is like just make your art. Like it doesn't matter, your art's not for everyone. All photos at festivals are not for what everyone wants to see. Like there are people who don't like rock music, there are people who don't like country music, but at the end of the day, like if you're there to shoot a festival, like capture the art. Don't be so focused on, oh, it has to be like this perfect photo. Like make it the art that you want the world to see and that best represents you, and like that's going to showcase and show more than, oh, I have this perfectly like like photo, like composed, I have the right technicality, the right lighting, it can still be a beautiful photo, but it might look like somebody else's. Like, make yourself stand out. Just do whatever you are best at.
Be you, be authentic.
I just
Put
got a
that.
shirt that says be your own muse. So be your own muse.
Awesome. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Valina. I feel like I learned a lot. M- I feel like there's always more to learn. Like Valina said, like you can work in it every day and still be learning more. So now we'll kind of open up the chat, or if you guys want to unmute yourself, ask some questions, see if you guys get some more insight for you.
Taylor, I know you've been doing this forever, it sounds like, but how, as you were getting started, did you balance unpaid versus paid work? Was there an opportunity that you flipped the switch essentially?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I like kind of give a little bit more backstory of when I moved down to Florida. I actually did a college program at Disney with Victoria, so that's how her and I know each other. So I've known her for almost 11 years now. But when I got hired at that job, I had already had a lot of photo experience, and I didn't know why I didn't get hired at photography there. And they were like, "Oh, well, like PhotoPass is very like basic." But after that, I actually got hired full time as a sports photographer at ESPN, down here at the resort. So I did sports photography full time, and I used to do press work for multiple different outlets over the years, like Festival Squad. I forgot all the other ones I did. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. But while I was doing all of those, to me, I always looked at every single time I was there as some opportunity of, I don't know who I'm going to meet. Like Valina was saying, like, you never know, like, who you're just saying, like, hi to, have a quick interaction with in the pit, who's gonna like get you that job. So I was doing press back and forth, and I was also finishing my master's, and I was kind of at a point where I started getting like some paid work in 2017, 2018 from somebody I met shooting a festival, started doing Corona Electric Beach, working with some artists here and there, meeting some people locally here. And I was kind of at the point of, I had a full-time job. I finished my master's, and I could have gone and been like an entertainment manager at Disney. And I was still like doing that. And I really still wanted to do photography, like music, because I had more work, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And I kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And COVID happened and I got fired from Disney. Actually, in my department, I was the top of the chopping block, and it was a blessing in disguise. The decision was made for me, because for me, the biggest thing I was always scared of was I had security of like, oh, I have, health insurance. I have like a pay every week, but like I wasn't getting paid appropriately there. And the decision was made for me. And honestly, I think the decision would have been that all along, because I kept getting more work, but I kind of owe it to COVID, of where once I started seeing like value, and people started seeing value in me, like you'll see the kind of clues. Like when I feel always give people, let's say, a rate. The way I always phrase it in an email is, this is my rate. I don't know what budget you're working with, but let's have a chat. Like, don't say you want a lower rate or you don't know what their budget is. Open it as an open conversation, because I also always look at it in different light forms. And a friend of mine, Ashley, gave me a really good piece of advice like a year or two ago, because I always go to her when I have questions. I'm like, I don't know what to do. You've been doing this longer than me. And I'm like, you work with everyone, and what do I do? And she goes, at the end of the day, because we still get undercut today, you have to ask yourself, is the client or event going to further your career? Like, if it is, maybe that pay cut's worth it. Or do you see this client or event going to be a longevity thing? Maybe the pay cut's worth it. If it's not, then maybe move along, because I still get undercut. There was a big EDM artist at a festival last weekend. They've reached out to me before to work with them. didn't work out. I reached out to them for this festival. They're like, oh yeah, I sent them over rates and they were like, that's out of our budget. Our budget's 150 for the set. And I was like, okay, thanks. That's it, period. So I think it's just like you'll see the right signs, but going back to the point of community of don't be afraid to ask other people like who are other photographers, or if you have a significant other or a best friend. Like I ask my fiance all the time. He does not work in the music realm whatsoever. And I'm like, what do I do? Like ask people close to you because they're going to be honest with you. So it's really just about like one, look at every opportunity or every gig, whether it's paid or unpaid, as your next opportunity, because it might be, but just don't be afraid to kind of take that jump, because freelance is a really scary thing. You don't know what's going to happen, but you also have to trust that process. And there is also nothing wrong with if you still have a 9 to 5 and you still just need to do freelance to kind of balance it out. I hope that answered your question. Sorry. I know that
Very
was
much.
long.
I appreciate all the detail. And also just going to say my girlfriend who just left for a soccer game also came from the Disney College program. So
I love that. Fun.
small little world. Yeah.
So many DCPs.
Feel like the college program, you either had a great time and we'll talk about it forever, or you did not have a great time and you
It's
will
a
never.
cult. It's a cult.
I had a
Let's just
great
call it
time.
what it is. I did too.
I used it to network. I used it to meet some great people. Like it's funny, Taylor and I didn't even work together. Like my roommate and her were friends. So you never know. You really never know where you're going to meet somebody.
Cool.
Do have a question in the chat from Sarah. Is there a good degree to have for certain things? I've heard marketing is a good segue into photography or the realm of photography, or UCF offers a music hospitality degree. I'm also wondering how you know what to research websites similar to Festival Wizard.
Degrees don't matter. A degree doesn't matter. Personally, if you want to go creative realm, obviously, if you want to go into a different facet of the music industry, like maybe you want to work on like experiential marketing and you want to market a festival, like marketing still though, social media is your best friend because there are trends changing all the time here and there. But like for me, I felt my family always instilled was like, you have to go to college to have a good job. Like, I think that's just how a lot of our parents were. And I'm not going to lie, but I feel like I regret going to school a little bit. Like I have student loan debt and I'm like, cool, fun, love doing this now. But at the same time, like I did do photography in school, but I did more like film and darkroom photography. I didn't do digital photography. But I don't regret about school was getting my master's in sport and entertainment management, because it showed me a lot about the business side, a lot about like how I operate my own business. I feel comfortable doing my own taxes. I do my fiance's taxes. I know how to do certain marketing things, like understanding economics, like that aspect. If you want to go and be a small business owner, go the business route, learn business, because if you want to be able to feel comfortable doing something, I feel business is a better strong suit. Marketing changes all the time. My fiance is a marketing director. He didn't go to school for marketing. He went to school for psychology, but he also uses that as his kind of pushing off point of that. He understands like empathy and how the human brain works and how he can use that to target people for certain aspects of marketing. So I'm not saying school isn't necessary, but you're going to learn more if you want to go a creative route from other people or online or tools like that.
I think, yeah, definitely like obviously some jobs require a bachelor's of science or bachelor's of arts for sure. I have a marketing degree. I actually started out as a music business major in my school, but it was just going the route, like the recording route. And that was something I didn't want to do. So I knew that I can get this degree in marketing and still take certain classes that were super transferable, and also do a lot of, I was part of my music programming board on campus. So I think college is really beneficial in that way, especially because I went to, like I said, a super small school and I had a lot of autonomy doing this. And that was kind of what stood out in my resume. I know a lot of people do internships. I actually didn't do any internships and still landed a job at WME, which, is crazy to me. But I think internships are very, very valuable and I wish I had done one. But I think there are certain ways if you look for a school and there's not a certain degree that directly aligns with your career goals or like music industry or, college is very expensive and, if you don't, it's not accessible to you, there are other ways you can go through, I think, while getting your degree and like learning and like, higher education and doing all that. But definitely, yeah, I think there are a lot of schools nowadays that have music industry studies, which is really cool. And they're like taught by vets from the industry. But I don't think it's necessary, like it's super necessary to go into getting a music industry degree, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on that one.
I think if you have like a specific plan, like you were saying, going into like recording or something, that's going to require maybe more of a technical aspect or knowing something, sure. But for what we do, like a lot of this is boots on the ground. But if you're looking for music festivals in general, I use Music Festival Wizard all the time. And one thing I started doing is just like, if you're ever, I mean, this is like personally, just like me, trying to manifest and like think about things. I go through Music Festival Wizard and I look at festivals that either I want to go to or I want to shoot. I put them on my calendar and then I like, no, okay, they're on my calendar and like, go to the website. There's a contact button on there. There's sometimes info about press. Go to the social sites. Like there's people who monitor those and like don't think that if you sent an email contacting someone in the festival that it doesn't get sent to somebody else who hires for that. It does, but sometimes it's just the team's filled or there's not a budget for it. Like because I specialize in sponsor and marketing stuff, sometimes they don't have the extra budget to bring the sponsor photographer. Sometimes other people have to double up.
Great answer. I hope that answered it for you, Sarah. Nina, it looks like you have your hand raised.
Thank you guys so much for everything. I really liked what you guys said about how it's important to have your elevator pitch ready because you never know who you're gonna meet and who's gonna bring you a new opportunity. So I've been working some local like merch gigs and VIP gigs, and obviously there's always some really cool people that are at those shows. I think the trouble that I've been having is I always have this hesitation to go up and talk to someone because I know like it's show day, everyone's there to do a job, and I don't want to feel like by trying to ask them about like how they got started and like stuff like that, like tips and advice that I'm kind of interrupting them from doing their jobs. So that kind of always holds me back. So I was just wanting to see if you guys had any advice on like how you would approach it or how you would want someone to approach you in those sort of settings.
I think that's a great question, and you bring a good point. Show days are always so hectic, and whoever your lead is, whether it's in merch or VIP, they're probably like doing 10 times as much things as you think. Not their head is probably just running like 80 miles per hour, because I know I am on site. I think the best way to go about it is introduce yourself, tell them what you're doing for the show, be like, hey, like I see you running around, like your name, I know you're a lead, I know you're a supervisor, like that's really cool. I don't want to disturb you right now, but like is there any way I can get your contact information? I would love to set up a virtual coffee chat when you have a moment, when you're done with this run or on like any of your off days, because I'm interested in X, Y, and Z, and I just kind of want to hear if you had any advice or tips or like how'd you get started. And I think that's the best way if they don't have time right then and there, because there is like very little downtime, but sometimes there is, so they might be like, oh, I can talk right now. But like I think offering the thing that's like, I know you're busy, but I would love to have this conversation with you when you are free, is a great way to go about it. And I will always like be like, yeah, for sure, like here's my contact info, like shoot me an email. Like it might take me a few days to get back to you, but like I try to make time for people. Like one of my staff members was curious about what I did this past weekend at Coachella, like what I did like with experiential, and she pulled me aside and said, can I speak to you in private? And I did have downtime at that time, and that was how I approached it. She was like, hey, I just heard you talking about this. It seemed like something cool and something I'm interested in. Like, can you run me through that? And we had like a 15-minute conversation about it. So I think that's the best way. That's how I would like someone to approach me. I don't know if Taylor thinks any differently.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, because I was going to say, like, try and arrange a time outside, or if you're working festivals, great time, go get lunch with them. Everybody's got to go get catering at some point, and most likely leads are going to want to sit down and not go back out in the field for the 10, 15, 20 minutes they have. And like, they might, and like, they are probably just as passionate about the job as you are. So talking to them about something else that's maybe not as chaotic, but like, great time, go get lunch, get their contact email, connect like afterwards, and like start a conversation that way. For me, I always tell people, email me, because other messages get lost. I have people who Facebook message me, Instagram message me, and if you saw my inboxes on there, you would think they're atrocious. Email me, please. And like, even people who try and book me, sometimes I'm like, please send it in an email. I will respond that way.
Yeah. And something I would recommend, like if you do send an email like ahead of your virtual coffee chat, give us like any background of what you've done, or like your resume or your portfolio. Cause like whenever I have a virtual chat from someone, or whenever I'm like reaching out, I always be like, hey, like this is my resume or like portfolio of what I've done, like, just for your reference. So they kind of have a little background on what you've done or like what you're capable of. So
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Nina. That was a great question.
Somebody
Sure.
asked if there's space for graphic design skills in the industry. Yes, it would be more called an art director or creative director, like sometimes like in that one. If you want to look at somebody, one of my friends on Instagram, I had to look up her Instagram. It's called Anna Made That. She is one of the art directors for C3, but she does a lot of the lineup posters for C3. So that is her graphic design elements in that. But there is space for graphic design, I feel, in the music industry. It's just more so, I would say, on like the album creation, promo creation, that sort of level.
Yeah, I think there definitely is a space, like definitely for like festivals, like lineups, campaigns, like all that like brand kit, like that's somebody doing it, that's creatives doing it. In the experiential festival world, like there's always like an art director / creative director who helps out with the renders, who help out with the build and the design. And then also like merch is a big thing too. Like I know like
Merch,
there are
yes.
a bunch of like freelance designers who do, specific merch for people, for like their tour cycle or for like their festival. A lot of people have like Coachella specific merch. So there definitely is like a very like strong space. I'm not just as familiar with it, but there is a lot of jobs like available like for graphic designers.
Yeah. And don't be afraid as like a graphic designer. I've seen a lot of like, sorry, I keep using EDM, but I run in that circuit a lot. But a lot of DJs there who like who have seen fan art, and they're like, oh my God, I want something designed by this person for my merch. So like, if you have a cool idea for like an artist, like maybe you drew something based off of a song, like don't be afraid to shoot your shot. Be like, hey, post it out there on social, tag them. You never know. Somebody might see it.
Any tips for resumes, specifically what not to do and what would turn off someone from hiring you or make you seem too new?
For resumes, I don't really need and typically send a resume for photography jobs unless it's asked. But for when I do send a resume, always make sure you include your location. Because I'm hiring a lot of people right now, and I've noticed people don't include their location or their email. Include basic contact information in there. Also include a link to your website for creatives, and keep it to one page. I have gotten the good, the bad, and the ugly of resumes from this big to 5 pages long. You want it to be one page. You want to, on my specific resume, I will tell you if this is it. I have my contact info up here, like my name, my title, like my email, my portfolio. And then I have a little section on this side. My top section is my elevator pitch of like, hi, I'm so and so. Like, this is what I specialize in. I'm interested in joining your team. I think I'd be a good fit because of X, Y, and Z. Below it, I list like my skills of like Photoshop, After Effects, like things like that. And then below that, I literally have one line about my education. That's it.
Mhm.
The whole left side is about 3, I would say, like of my most recent work. Also tailor your resume to the job you're applying for. I got a resume recently for somebody telling me they wanted to be a BMW technician, and I'm like, you are applying for a photo job. I'm like, maybe you just didn't look. Like, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, but tailor your resume to the job you're applying for. Just like relevant experience. And when you are doing your relevant experience, they should not be really long. Like, I have like what the job was, the date, like I worked it, a location, and then I have about 3 bullet points about like highlighting things about it. Like, did I grow clientele? Who I worked with? And keep it nice and short and sweet. But like, I really do not put anything, let's say, past 5 years on my resume. 5 years should be, I think, the rule for me.
Yeah, those are all good. I love resumes. I talk about resumes with my friends all the time. I think one of the things I'm sure everybody already knows, but make sure it's in a PDF. So it's formatted correctly. Don't send it in a Word or PDF so nothing changes. Make sure there are no grammatical errors, no typos. That's a big thing. And something I like to stress, something that is like quantitative. If like you've done anything that is quantitative, I think a lot of people look for that. Like, did you, grow attendance on whatever? Did you grow sales? And I think for people starting out, like, in college, I feel like no job is too small. When you're starting out, it's just like the way you kind of phrase it and picture it. Like if you were like I was a building manager for 3 years for my student center, so it's like I made sure to like put in some bullet points that really highlighted my experience there. Like if you were just invited to, supervisor only meetings or something like that, make sure you include that. Like make sure you include the wins and highlight that. Um, and like if you did something that resulted in something amazing or like, 100%, in sales or 100% in attendance or something, increase in attendance, make sure you put that in there because that's really relevant. And a lot of jobs you start out with or do in college are really transferable to like entry level gigs and entry level work that you're looking at. So I think it's important to put that in there. And like Taylor said, one page. I still have one page on mine, and I've been working since I was like, 22. So.
I think one last thing I'll add for resumes. I've been very impressed by anyone who's put together like a creative portfolio resume. So included like your own photos in there or like a digital one that had like links to videos. It has impressed me to see that. I was like, this is something new and something unique. So just food for thought, like as a photographer, if you get asked for one.
Great answers. Valina, this one might be a little bit more towards you. Somebody wanted to ask about getting into more of like a 9 to 5 role for music. Like,
Oh,
I guess
yeah.
what type of roles that might be. I know obviously live music is a little bit different.
I mean, yeah, there are a lot. I mean, there are just different realms that I haven't even gotten into. Like, there's the record label route that I know a handful of friends who've gone through. There's the talent agency route, music touring or like music brand partnerships. You can be an assistant to an agent. So for those who don't know what like agents do, they're the people who book their rosters on tours, one-off shows, festivals. So in my role at WME, I was helping my agent book our WME electronic roster on these festivals or these residencies. And so a lot of like paperwork, a lot of emails, a lot of contracts, a lot of, chasing for payments. I know a lot of like C3 and Live Nation, they have a lot of like assistant roles. So I think that's a really good entry level. That's usually like the entry level job that a lot of people go into when they start out in the music world. They do either an assistant role or a coordinator role so they can like learn the ropes from their higher ups and their leads. There's a lot on that too. Like I said, record labels, promoter companies like Live Nation, C3, Golden Voice, AEG, the agency route. There's also like publishing and like syncing. I'm not super well versed in that, but I do know those are 9 to 5 as well. So it's out there. Definitely, you gotta like Taylor said, like tailor your resume so it can beat like the automatic keyword system, which is also very kind of tricky to beat. And I'm still learning myself how to do that. But yeah, if you can find like an HR person, like too, like, and you can find their email, like just so you can get eyes on that, your resume and your application, like I highly recommend doing that as well. Just sending them a cold email, be like, hey, I applied online to this and this. Like, I really want to increase my chances of being screened by somebody. Or one big thing that I totally recommend, look at your school's like supervisors or like staff and faculty members and look to see who they know and look to see like if they know any alumni in the industries that you're working in, because that's how I got my resume to be seen by a human at WME, is because the faculty member that I was close with at Millikan, my college, his fraternity brother worked at the WME office in Nashville. And he has sent in my resume to HR. And that's how, obviously I did all the rest, but that's how it was like seen by a human and I got a chance to interview. So I definitely like would lean into your alumni network and like also any teachers, any faculty members that you're close with, tell them what you want to do. Be like, hey, can you think of anybody that you know or that might have been an alumni at college that you may know? And I think that's like one of the best ways to like get in with a 9 to 5. But there are so many 9 to 5 jobs out there. That is in music, just so many different like facets of the industry like has a 9 to 5 to it, you know?
I also saw somebody asked about preparing a portfolio for festival work. I don't prepare a portfolio. My portfolio sits on my website at all times. I feel a website as a creative says a lot about you. For me, my website specifically is divided into 4 sections of the 4 areas I mainly want to work in. It is brand, music, events, and people. So people meaning portraits, events meaning festival experience, brands is like sponsorship, like working with a Jack Daniels, a Modelo, a Dunkin', American Apparel. And then music is my artist photos of, you see the artist face creatively, whatever. In my portfolio, though, is a mix of all of them. I want to showcase everything. I don't prepare anything specifically for a client unless it's asked for a pitch deck. Then I'll do something specific, but my portfolio is always going to live on my website. I try to update it every quarter. Sometimes it's half a year, sometimes it's once a year. But also, all my most recent work always lives on Instagram, always on my Instagram. My Instagram also posts to my Facebook page and it posts to Threads and everywhere else. So I just have it all connected. It all goes out. And when people ask me, I said, here's my portfolio on my website, which is going to be the best of my best photos. Typically, I try to keep it to 100. Every other section is 50 images or less because you're going to lose people. And then my Instagram, they can have fun and have at it. I don't care. Have fun. Look at everything. I have 300 and some posts on there. But if I am interested in going to events, I don't cater a portfolio to it. I sometimes just try and reach out to connections to see if there's somebody I know. But a lot of the times people ask me how I get hired by festivals. A lot of these festivals are reaching out to me. I'm like, oh, like, hello. Cool. Yeah, I would love to work with you. Never thought about it.
We got one more question, and we'll go back to this with Taylor. When would be the right time to reach out for media roles, when the date is announced or when a lineup drops?
Depends on what platform you're going through. Victoria, I'm sure, can speak a little bit about this, but as somebody, when you work with a publication, obviously everybody in your publication does different things, and some people are going to be fighting more for certain tours or certain stops over each other. But something to keep in mind of, let's say you want to shoot a tour like Charlie. Let's say you want to shoot the Charlie tour. Reminder is most of the time each media outlet is going to get accepted for one tour stop. So everybody who works at an outlet, they're going to have to figure out, like, if you're working for a Rolling Stone wants to go cover that opening night because they need that coverage. For something more smaller scale like Melodic Magazine, Victoria's going to look at who's requested it and figure out, like, okay, well, these people are requesting it, and she might look at who else she has as a writer who can also go to the show, because sometimes those two have to work in conjunction together. But typically for tours, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Victoria, usually about 2 months out is when PR and stuff starts looking at it. But you can find out anywhere as up to the day of a show if you got approved or not. But typically, I've always been told 2 months to 2 weeks is your sweet spot, depending on what you're going for. For bigger festivals, it might be more than 2 months. But if you're looking to work directly with like an artist for a festival, I've always been told typically reach out 2 months before the event is going to happen. So like Bonnaroo's in June, like if you already had a ticket and you wanted to work with an artist, you should be reaching out now to artists being like, hey, I would like to shoot, like I'm already going to be there. And don't be afraid to cold email them. But if you reach out when the lineup drops, like they're going to be like, cool, thanks. We're not even thinking about that right now. Like that lineup is so far away. But I think 2 months is a sweet spot to get them, because you have to remember for festivals, there's a whole credentialing process that has to go through, and artists have to submit stuff and they have to get approval. And sometimes artists are only allowed a certain amount of tickets. And if they're trying to do something special with having family there, like they might only have so many. So like maybe an artist could only give you a photo badge, but you have to get a ticket another way. So you have to keep that in mind as well.
To add to that, I think a lot of media roles now that I've seen, they have a lot of deadlines for applications. So it's typically about 2 weeks to a month is when they close deadline. Sometimes it's 3 months before, and some festivals don't even allow media. So I think the best thing to do is like definitely check the websites, look at their applications. It's typically always there. And if you can't find it on their website, I normally will Google like Lollapalooza Media, and it will pull up like their exact media page on their website. So we've got some amazing answers, some amazing questions. I wanted to thank everybody for joining us on a Wednesday evening. Like we've said a couple times tonight, network, connect with Taylor on LinkedIn, Valina on LinkedIn, the peers. You never know who you're going to meet. If you guys have any questions, you can find us on LinkedIn. I know can't speak for everybody. My inbox is always open. On LinkedIn, it's a little bit easier. I do agree with Taylor. Sometimes messages can be lost on Instagram or Facebook, but LinkedIn is a great way to connect. And if you don't have one, I do suggest it is a great platform in the industry.